أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم لو كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 102 of Surah Al-Baqarah, we've already discussed very briefly the effect of waves, specifically sound waves. But it should be understood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this universe, this universal domain. And within everything in this universe, He has created specific effects and specific impacts. And many of these also leave behind marks. This is the aspect of ta'seerat and atharat, where various things within creation and creation as a whole, they have the ability to leave behind an impact, or they can trigger causes. And they can also leave behind certain effects that remain for a very long time. To go into the universal domain is very far-fetched. Let's just talk within our own world. As human beings, what affects us in our day-to-day lives, we understand the impact that hunger has on us. We understand the effect of food. You consume even a small amount of food, and that severe impact of hunger, it calms down for those who have faced hunger. The same applies to thirst. Water has this unique impact of making a person's thirst to go away for some time. And not just water, liquids in general. At least for some time, it removes the thirst, it quenches the thirst. And this impact, this effect is felt in everything, or is within everything. Even the weather changes what impact it has on us. Our clothing changes according to the weather. But certain foods have certain effects. There are particular people with particular conditions that are required to go on particular types of diets. Those that generally abide by those diets, So they will have their sicknesses or whatever is causing them to be on that diet to be taken care of for some time. So as human beings, not just food affects us, but what we consume also affects us. Specific types of food, specific types of also drinks. These things have a profound impact on our lives. Going even to a further degree, we understand the impact that medicine has. Specific people with specific sicknesses, they take certain medications. It does have an impact. For some, it has a faster impact, and for others, the impact takes a little bit longer. Few medical doctors, or my friends, also told me that it has a lot to do with the person's belief in the doctor also. We call it yaqeen, they call it placebo in medical science. In Deen, we call it yaqeen or conviction. So how convinced the patient is that what the doctor is telling him is going to work. Even if the doctor gives him candy and tells him that this will work, if the patient is convinced that this doctor is real and this will definitely work, it will have some impact on the patient. Though I in no way encourage you to test this out, but I'm just sharing with you that it does have, they call it the placebo effect. Even the medical science within the United States, we have certain organizations that make sure medications are medications. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So long as medication can be approved or have an impact up to 50%, so it is approved and it is allowed to be used in the open market. The remaining 50% or 40% is the patient's yaqeen or conviction in the power of the doctor. But that is the impact that medication has, but it also has similar impact in everything within our lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us human beings with a very, very amazing system within our lives and within our bodies. The system of yaqeen, the system of conviction. What we are convinced about, often a time, we human beings, we have this ability to, on one side, fool ourselves, but also on the other side, to benefit ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this system within every single human being, every single insan. And this system of effect can be used for good, as I just gave you the example of medicine. But also shaitan, he takes advantage of this as well. For those who are familiar with the historical background of West Africa, specifically the Congo Republic, there's been war there for almost 3 decades now. They have a whole documentary about it, and what stood out when I was seeing some of the warlords that were involved in the war that they've been having, there's generally one tribe against another tribe. Along with that, there are drugs that are rampant and murder, obviously, in wars. Many things happen. But one of the warlords who was later reformed and who became supposedly a very practicing Christian, and now he was almost a spiritual guide for many. So they asked him that, explain to us what happened during the war. So they were still at war for the past few decades, 3 or 4 decades they've been going through war. So he said during the years when he was young, when he was a general, and he would gather his troops and they would go and attack a tribe. He said one of the first things that we would do is we would bring a young child from that tribe. We would kidnap either, the preferred age was a 4-year-old to 7-year-old, young child. They said then what we used to do is make the child stand. And he said this was what we were being told, and we would take out, he said, since I was the general, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted, so I used to pull out the heart of this child, I would cut it out. And he said, then I used to drink the blood of this child. This is very, very famous in that area. They used to eat, or they still eat humans. There's a lot of cannibalism in that area. He said, then whatever was left of the child, the other soldiers used to eat. He said, but we used to do this. The reporter, obviously shocked, asked him, why did you do such a terrible thing? And, even now he was still saying, the person who was giving the report, he was saying, he said, I regret the things I've done. But he said, that time, he said, we used to feel that if we drank the blood of our enemy, especially if that is pure blood, then we would be given the power to rule and control that enemy and defeat our enemy. And this is not written in some scripture somewhere. This is shaitan putting these thoughts in their minds. The reporter told him that, did you actually used to feel stronger when you would do this? And the person said, not only did we feel stronger, we felt invincible. He said, some of my soldiers, they used to even take off their armor and run into the battlefield just completely naked. They used to feel like nothing used to harm them. This is what kind of impact, when we talk about yaqeen or conviction, used on the wrong side for evil. So shaitan, he also plays with this. He understands what we are convinced about. Where we insan, that when we really believe, we human beings, we believe in something, to some degree it can have an impact on us. This is how the mushrikeen who are involved in their shirk, those who used to worship idols, why did they worship those idols? Because deep down inside they felt that this idol would give them some kind of power, or this idol would give them some kind of benefit. Now when we think about it, so how can somebody be so foolish to worship rocks or stones or something they carve out with their own hands? The reason they used to worship these things is because shaitan put this idea in their minds, that if you worship this idol, so you will get this, and you worship that idol, you'll get this. So this is how shirk came about. This human yaqeen, when we're convinced about something, then there's no limit to how far we can go. On one side, on the side of good, yes, it can change the world and benefit many. And on the other side, when we allow shaitan to put ideas in our minds, then we can destroy humanity. And there are numerous examples of this. There's a famous incident related to Sayyidina Luqman alayhi salam, Hakim Luqman, the wise sage, that he was, because of his hikmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with very, very deep hikmah, deep wisdom. And that wisdom was to such a degree that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even named a surah in the Quran after him. And has even mentioned some of the advice that he gave to his son, which are pearls of wisdom. But Luqman alayhi salam, in complexion, he was of dark complexion. It is mentioned or reported that he was from the area of Habasha, Ethiopia, and Kenya, and this area. So one time he used to teach, people would follow him also. The nature of wise people is that people want to have some benefit from their wisdom, so people would travel and come and sit with him and learn from him. And this is also the nature of wise people, that they teach. There's very, very great wisdom and great benefit in teaching. So one time he was teaching his class, and a man came up to him in a very harsh tone, told him that you are my slave. So generally when a teacher is accused of something like this, or some very strange, somebody comes and makes such a strange claim, so the students also get fired up. So some of the students stood up, told this man, what are you talking about? This is our teacher. You must be mistaken. The man insisted. He said, no, I know. My slave is very cunning, and now he has come here to become your teacher. So Luqman alayhi salam, he said, listen, explain yourself. What are you talking about? So the man, he said, okay, listen, I own this farm. And one of my slaves, he's a troublemaker. So he ran away in the morning. And I know you are the one. You look exactly, there's no way you cannot be him. You look exactly like him. And now you're claiming you're a teacher teaching people wisdom. You think I'm going to fall for this trick, So Luqman alayhi salam, he told the students, he said, okay, don't worry. I will go with him, because this may teach me how to be a better slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, you have to understand the system of slavery, that those who used to own slaves, the masters, they had many slaves. They also had a lot of authority or a lot of power. So often at time, if they made a claim and you fought them, you were up against a very powerful force. Luqman alayhi salam, in his own wisdom, realized, what's the point of involving my students in something so strange? There's a little strange incident. So he went with the person, he said, no problem. At least I'll learn how to be a better slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That in itself is also a very wise thing we should understand. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts us in a certain condition or a certain test and we take the negative side. But wise people, they always look at the positive. A famous saying, "Utrubul khayra fima waqar," that seek the khair or seek the good in whatever happens. Whenever something happens to you, go find the good in it. This is what wise people do. So Luqman alayhi salam, he went with this master and they went to the garden or the big farm and he started working. Now, one thing when wise people work, everything is organized. So the master, he came outside, all the work was done, everything organized, and the master started looking, what is this strange, How did he become so skilled? The second day he came, again everything was done, not only on time, before time everything was done, but very organized, very clean, everything done very properly. So now the master, he started getting in doubt. He said, maybe I got the wrong guy, I think I must have the wrong person. Let me test him. He called Luqman alayhi salam, he said, listen, I want you to slaughter a lamb for me, and tonight you bring me the best part of this lamb. Okay? Luqman alayhi salam, he said, no problem. When in the evening, Luqman alayhi salam brought on a plate the tongue and the heart of the lamb and put it in front of the master. The master looked at the heart and the tongue and he thought to himself, okay, maybe he likes this, so I should be a little more specific. Anyhow, the master didn't say anything, he ate it. Next day, he called Luqman and he said, I came to Luqman alayhi salam and he said, I want you to slaughter for me a lamb. Bring me the worst part, the part that everybody hates. The most dangerous part of the lamb, very hated part. Luqman alayhi salam said, no problem. So he went. In the evening again he brought a plate and there was the tongue and the heart. He put it in front of the master. The master, he started laughing, He said, I thought maybe I was wrong. That maybe you're not my slave, but it seems I have been proven wrong. You are my slave. You are foolish. Luqman alayhi salam, he said, sir, I think you're mistaken. The master said, what do you mean? I told you bring the best part, you bring me heart and tongue. I told you bring me the worst part, you bring me heart and tongue. You're nothing but foolish. Luqman alayhi salam, he said, no, you misunderstand. The best part, especially of a human being, the heart and the tongue. Because it has been known to lead many, many people to the straight path. And it's changed the lives of many. When a person's heart is pure, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the gift of eloquence, this is the most powerful gift. And it can change the lives of many. And how many Anbiya alayhim wassalam have come and how many people have changed their lives. He said also the same gift. If it is corrupted, so the man's heart, if a man's heart is corrupted, and a man's tongue is also corrupted, then how many people they can mislead, and how many people they can take with them to Jahannam. And this is a very, very powerful statement we should think. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the most powerful gifts that He has given to insan is the gift of bayan, the gift of speech. That is why in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about His favors, in Surah Ar-Rahman, He tells us Ar-Rahman, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Ar-Rahman. عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ, He has taught the Quran. خَلَقَ الْإِنسان, He has created this insan to teach insan this Quran. And then عَلَّمَهُ الْبَيَانِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught this insan bayan. Many of the Mufassireen have mentioned that bayan is the tafseer of the Quran, but also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this insan the gift of speech. And how many people there are that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them such eloquence that they're able to guide so many. Look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What level of eloquence he was given. How many people accepted Islam at his hand at his time. Look at Anbiya alayhim as-salam of the past. Look at many of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. And look at many, many of the Mashayikh of this deen. How many people have changed their lives at their hands. But on the other side, how many wars have been fought because of words. Some person wasn't careful with what they said or how they said it. And next thing you know, one word led to another, and next thing you know, we have wars. How many people's lives have been destroyed because of people who had eloquence and they used that eloquence in a dangerous way. One of the things Fir'aun was famous for was his eloquence. Fir'aun, he was very, very eloquent. If you read in the Quran, the eloquence, how when Fir'aun he speaks, the kind of words he uses, one can be surprised what kind of person this Fir'aun was. Yes, we know he's a terrible person. I'm not saying he's not terrible, but his eloquence in any situation, even Musa alayhi salam would perform some of the greatest miracles. But Fir'aun always found a way to twist the narrative. One of the greatest propaganda you can think of. When you speak about propaganda, you think this media and these things are something new. Go read about the propaganda of Fir'aun in the Quran. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam came, he threw the staff, turned into a massive serpent. Very, very massive serpent. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam took out his hand, Yad Bayda, his hand was shining. People were surprised, people were ready to accept. And Fir'aun, he looked at the people and he realized they were ready to accept. So Fir'aun, he looked at them and he said, and Fir'aun, he made a very, very powerful statement to his people. That don't you people see? He was telling all of the people. That don't you people see that the whole mulk of Misr, the kingdom of Egypt is mine? Alaysa li mulku Misr. Don't you see that all this kingdom of Egypt is mine? وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي. They say, you don't see these rivers going underneath me. I'm controlling these rivers. They're going underneath my palace. Everyone stopped. Said, oh wow. We never thought of this. Fir'aun, what kind of... وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. He said, won't you people understand? He was trying to what kind of propaganda he was using. And how powerful. And Fir'aun, when he started speaking, when he started threatening the people, the kind of words he was using, people were afraid of him. And Fir'aun, even when he saw the Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he won the battle between the magicians. When the magicians came and they displayed their magic, of course the magic was nothing. When it comes to the mu'jizat of Anbiya, there's a reason they're called mu'jizat. They make everything else ajiz, impossible, they're useless to be able to match it. So the magician, they threw their sticks and their ropes and whatever they had. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam threw his stick also. His stick was a mu'jiza from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the hundreds or thousands of sticks moving around. And the stick of Musa alayhi salam, when it turned into a serpent, the one blow sucked up everything, a vacuum cleaner. We didn't even have vacuum cleaners like that. The one, everything was gone. And the snake was just sitting there looking at everyone was staring at what kind of snake is this. It was a different kind of snake. There are three names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses for that snake. Hayyatun tas'a. It was a very fast snake. Another name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned is Thu'banun Mubin. Thu'ban. They have this python or anaconda, these big, big snakes. And these are called Thu'ban, But also it was a very, very fast snake. Jan is another name it was used. Jan nu Allah mudbir. That the snake turned into a Jan, from jinn. There's some snakes, they can camouflage. You can't see them because they camouflage. They're like jinn, People say, have you seen jinn? Brother, the word jinn means something you can't see. So if you see it now, it's not jinn anymore. Anyway, don't entice the jinn. Okay. But this is a Jan, it's an ajib kind of, it had every quality that a snake could have. It was very fast, massive snake. And on top of that, it could camouflage. Also some of these snakes, they look very poisonous. You just look at them, you can tell how poisonous the snake is. It's a very, very strange kind of snake. And it was not massive just like the anaconda. This thing was massive. It was something else. And yet it could fit in any place, Such a strange snake. So the magician, they knew this is not magic. Our making our ropes and sticks move. This is not something, so when we were little, they used to have these toys, you could go to the dollar store or whatever, these funny names, the Dollar General or whatever, and you could buy this little toy snake, and the way they had made it, the snake had like 10 or 12 pieces, and these pieces were put together with this kind of plastic type of screw. If you held the tail of the snake, it would start moving. It would look like a real snake, They don't have them anymore. So people got confused, maybe it was a real snake. They must have killed so many of poor plastic things, I don't know. But anyhow, So these magicians are doing something like this, they're making these ropes and these things move. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam had this massive snake, and in no time it swallowed everything. And when the magicians accepted Iman, now there was a fear that everyone else would accept Islam. When you see experts accept something, so then the vast majority say, well, you know what do we know? You understand? Experts are experts. At that time, Fir'aun, he realized, he said, everybody's going to accept Iman. They're going to follow these magicians. And if these magicians did sajda and they accepted Islam, what's going to happen to me and my kingdom? So Fir'aun, in such an eloquent way, he put such a threat out that everyone was afraid. And the fear is a very powerful motivator. Fir'aun, he told these magicians, he said that, I'm going to crucify you with juzu' al-nakhl. I'm going to crucify you with the date palm trees. And I'm going to cut your hands and your feet from opposite sides. What kind of threat? That I'm going to cut your hands, right hand and left foot, or left hand and right foot. I'm going to cut your body parts opposite sides. And then I'm going to crucify you. And when everyone heard this, they stopped. They said, if he's going to do this to his magicians, what is Fir'aun going to do to us if we accept Iman? So fear is something that stopped everyone. And then Fir'aun realized people still have doubts. Because everybody was looking at one another. Okay, who's ready to accept Iman now? So Fir'aun, he made a very powerful statement. And he was telling all the people who were standing there. He said, Ya ayyuhal mala, oh my chiefs. He was, addressing his whole cabinet. That do you know any God other than me? That do people have any other God that you worship other than me? Then he looked at his main chief, we call him vice president or whatever you want to call it. And he looked at him and he said, Ya Haman ibn li sarha, la'alli attali'u ila ilahi Musa. He said, Oh Haman, build for me sarha, build for me a skyscraper, for lack of better words. Build for me a very, very tall tower, so that I go talk to the ilah of Musa. They built for me sarhan la'alli attali'u ila ilahi Musa. Wa inni la dhunnuhu min al-kadhibin. He said, but I still think that Musa is lying. What propaganda, And he told Haman, he said, start the construction, You know amazing thing about construction? Do you know amazing thing about construction? If you want to delay, there's no end to how much you can delay, Especially when some of the contractors, they want a little more money, then mashaAllah, it starts, A 1-year project can take 5 years if they want, or 10 years. No one can question why. They say, this is happening and this is happening and we have this. Who's going to question? So Fir'aun, he knew. He put everyone in suspense, that I'm building this monolith to go up. Those monoliths are still there, what they built at that time, subhanallah. But he just kind of holding everyone in suspense. So this is how powerful speech can be. What kind of propaganda Fir'aun had. It's amazing when you read the ayat of the Quran. And within these ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when it's used for evil, then how far it can go. How many lives it can destroy. Now that is the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. You come even to today, how powerful propaganda is. This media? Subhanallah. Malcolm X, those who are familiar with him. Malcolm X made a very, very powerful statement at that time. He said the most powerful weapon of the 20th and 21st century is the media and propaganda. Because this weapon is so powerful that it can make the victim a monster and make the monster the victim. This is Malcolm X said. And the Africans, they have a very powerful proverb. So I don't know the African languages, so I'll only tell you the translation of the proverb. They have a powerful proverb. They say that the hunter will continue to be a victim so long as the lion does not know how to write. Just let that proverb sink in a little bit. He said the hunter, these hunters, who do they hunt? They hunt the lions. They said the hunter, he will continue to be a victim so long as the lion does not know how to write. Which means that so long as the lion is the one being hunted. The lion is not hunting the hunter. Lions, they don't hunt humans. Don't provoke them. They'll kill you. I'm just sharing with you. In general, they don't hunt humans. They don't have any need for it. But there are humans, we hunt lions. And some of them they used to have this, for their own status. If you could hunt a lion by yourself and you could kill a lion by yourself, so you were considered, that's how they used to become a head chief. And some of the cultures in Africa, they have this. So they used to have this proverb. So these people used to go out and hunt a lion. And then you would bring the head of the lion and you could prove that you killed a lion. Now you were considered a big man. So they used to do this. But they have this proverb that because the lion does not know how to read and write, it's an illiterate, it's an animal, what good does a lion know? So because of that, the lion is made out to be the monster when it is actually the human being hunter who's hunting this lion. So this is how propaganda works. They can make innocent victims look like monsters, and they can make the monsters innocent. This is how powerful propaganda is. And what is really propaganda? It's nothing but words. What words they use. And we live in America, so I'm not going to use the word that they use in propaganda, okay? But you just look. Anytime a crime is done, go see what words are being used for the criminal. The words that are being used for the criminal, this will tell you what kind of, who the criminal is. If it is words like, oh, he had a troubled childhood and now he has a mental illness, so he might be a white guy, But if you read about, oh, he has a criminal record and he spent time in, juvenile jail, it's probably a black man or African American. And if you see words that are dangerous, words that is a terrorist, then automatically you know, okay, mashallah, this is Muslim. No one else can do something like this. So these just look at the words that are being used. And sometimes the criminal, he does such a crime, kills so many people. And they'll talk about what kind of troubled childhood he's had and how he has a family and there should be kindness shown to him. He just killed so many people. So these, even the words that they use have such a profound impact. That image is put in the minds of the people. That how they should treat the criminal, how the criminal should be already treated. That narrative is already pushed from the beginning. And this is not just America. Go throughout the world. Whoever controls the media in whichever country you go to. So the narrative will tell you everything about the mindset and the ideology that they want to push regarding certain groups, regarding certain people. And this is what is propaganda, this is what is bayan, this is what words are. You're able to turn people against people, you're able to make the worst enemies best friends. And this is what was the quality of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam also. He was able to bring enemy tribes, bring them together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even mentioned in the Quran, and this was the quality of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us understanding and He gives the tawfiq to practice His deen. Inshallah we'll continue. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار ستره وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.